am so excited to have Elias Torres on the show today. Elias is being a model for me. I've been following his career for a long time. He is an immigrant. He is from Nicaragua, just like me. I'm from Ecuador, and he's done fantastically well in the world of tech. He went and founded Performable, which he then sold to HubSpot. And then he became the VP of engineering at HubSpot and grew that company, was part of the $30 billion journey. And then he founded Drift with David Cancel, and they grew that to a $1.2 billion acquisition with Vista. And he's back in the game with agency to do it better this time, to do it in a way that he's going to drive high revenue with very few headcount. So he's the man behind the $1 billion company at 100 people. So if you want to hear the advice on how to get there, this is the podcast to listen to. I am so excited about everything he has to say. I've been following Elias for a long time. He has such a strong point of view on how to build companies, how to build teams, how to hire, and especially about the fact that software should be working for you and not all the way around. And this is why agency is part of the new wave of companies that is going to change how we consume software, specifically customer relationship software. So stay put. Let's listen to what Elias has to say, and let's go. Welcome to the Get Paid podcast, everyone. We have my friend, Elias Torres. He's been my friend for a long time. I admire the way that he built teams and he built the product at Drift, and he took the company all the way to a successful exit. And now he's building again. And not a lot of people know this, but Elias was one of the first few calls that I made when I was starting Paid. And he was the one who reintroduced me to the Sequoia team and got us off the ground. It's been always a pleasure to work with him. He's been a confidant, a coach, an advisor. And, all right, check this out. His wife is Ecuadorian, which is the most beautiful thing ever. So he's a very lucky man on top of being a very successful man. Elias, so good to have you.
Thank you, man, for having me here. I love hanging out with you. Whenever you call, I say yes.
That's right. You're the only one who take all my early calls. You're the only one who's up earlier than everybody I know. So you're hustling. All right, so let's talk about that. So after Drift, successful exit, you call it a failure and you're back to hustling. Walk us through that. Why was in your mind not the full swing? What was the miss at Drift?
I mean, I think people are giving me a lot of slack for that line, right? But it is true that Drift, even though I sold it for $1.2 billion, was the biggest failure of my life. And I think that people don't connect with that, but they don't understand that everything else I'd done before was much bigger than I thought it was going to be. It just happened to be much smaller, right? Building Performable, I had no idea as my first company that I was founding with David that I was going to be able to, drive it to an exit. Most companies fail, right? And
Yeah.
so, like getting to an exit to HubSpot, what? Going into HubSpot, most acquisitions fail. Most times you have a terrible experience at the company and you don't have any impact on the outcome, on the trajectory of that company. But I was able to rebuild the entire product and the entire team, right? That took the company to an IPO. I built the CRM, I built the marketing platform. I was in charge of everyone there. With David, we redesigned it, rethought everything, and built what you see today that makes a company worth $30 billion, right?
Right.
And so that was like bigger than what I thought. And so my mind for Drift was we were going to build a $30 billion company, right? We were going to take it IPO. When
Yeah.
I left HubSpot with the dream of building something as big or bigger than HubSpot. And that did not happen, right?
So what changed in your purpose now that you're here at it again from the beginning with all the experiences of two companies under your belt? What's new?
I think what changed is really what I want for myself, right? I think a lot of people are building companies and they're chasing the wrong thing. They're chasing money, they're chasing fame, they're chasing all these things, right? That they see that look glamorous on TechCrunch articles and stuff like that, right? And people are like, "Oh, look at that person, look at that person." Like, and being successful like that, being of TechCrunch fame, being of money fame, being of all this stuff, you realize is absolutely meaningless, right? Okay, somebody maybe once in a while recognized me out there and be like, "Are you Elias?" Or like, "Oh, I used to work for you," or something like that. Or it's just that stuff just never ends. chasing something like that, right?
Yeah.
And there's such very little satisfaction to that. And then it's like I have multiple cars, I have multiple houses, and as you realize, is all of that is headaches. You have check engines lights. Now you don't have one, you have four. You know, and it's like, when do I go do this? Right? What do I make myself? That's what you see, like Jeff Bezos driving this Honda Accord, forever, right? Or
Yeah.
Warren Buffett in their same car because all this stuff is just such a pain in the ass. It's not as what people make it out to be. Luckily, like I'm married, I have a family, I have three adult children, ages 19 and up. It's just like I have everything. So what's missing in my life? Purpose always, right? That's what
Yeah.
humans don't go and search for so much. And my purpose in life is to build. And my purpose is to build companies because I've learned to do them, and not a lot of people know how to build companies or how to build products. So my purpose is to build products to the benefits of others, right?
Mm.
And what is the benefit that I'm trying to solve? Is that I'm passionate about people building companies because they struggle to manage their customers. It's easier to have, like, 10 customers and you can call them all and you can check them all by hand and, like, how are you doing, and check their health. But when you grow a company and you're successful and you have thousands of them, it just becomes a total shit show, right? And
Yeah.
all we do is we just hire people and hire people that might not even do a great job. And they're not going to do it like you do it. And so therefore the quality of the company goes down. So I think my biggest failure is what propelled me to say, what is the problem that I want to solve for the rest of my life? Because otherwise, what else do I have to do, right? I'm not doing it out of emptiness, but I'm doing it out of real passion that I love building products, I love building teams, and I love solving for this problem.
So one of the things that you have added to your core messaging, and I love this, is that the new company that is going to be created in this age of AI is going to hit $1 billion on the back of 100 employees. Why is that a mission for you? Like, why are you so bent on making that happen? And how's that even work?
I think one, people misunderstand the power of AI in the first place, right? I think that the truth is that humans, until we see it in front of us, we don't believe it, right? And even if we see it, we still don't believe it, and so we're gonna be rejecting AI for a long time, and humans are gonna be the hardest roadblock to cross in the adoption of AI. Right? That is just the plain truth. People are going to fight it, and so that's something very important for builders to understand, that this is not just about building software, but it's about re-educating or helping with the actual transformation of humankind to adopt this new technology that is in the making and it's in its infancy, right? A lot of people say, like, agents are here. And like, well, kind of, but not, right? But the reality is that what's happening is that what I see a problem, right, is that back to drift, right? We were like 800 people, not profitable, and struggling to increase the output and the speed of the company, right? And so when you have too many people, it becomes a whole different job. It becomes the work just completely changes in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
Your focus is how do you feed all those mouths, right? How do you guide them? How do you coach them? How do you manage their emotions? How do you manage their promotions? Because they're all concerned about their lives and their families that they have back at home. And so we can't blame, a human for worrying about providing, right? For their family. But it becomes no longer the mission of the company, right? And
Yeah.
so the mission of the company is to solve for the customer and to move as fast as possible, right? Because it's a crazy competitive world out there. Most of the time, it's a red ocean. And so we are filled with distractions, meetings, interviews, one on ones. We just have to do what I'm doing, which is I'm rethinking, this being my fifth company, I'm like rethinking every single action that happens in the company and say, do we need to do that? And I look back on my experience and say, that was not fun. That was not great. And it's not because I liked it or not like it. It's like there's things I like that I'm not doing anymore. Right. And
Yeah.
so where we have to cut back on everything and leave it to first principles to say, how do we build product faster?
But why 100 and a billion? Like, why couldn't it be? You could be 200 and a billion. That's still a fantastic number. Why you pick
Yeah, I
that
mean,
particular
absolutely.
number?
I'm trying to create a constraint, right? Because a constraint forces creativity. You have to learn how to manage costs. You know, we are, you know, in an age where a lot of people, you know, everybody has different views. It's a very complex range to come out with the right number. I came out with the number that works for me, right?
Yeah,
It goes to my ambition. You might have someone that says, I'm going to be one person and generate 1 million per year, and
yeah,
that's be fantastic. You can be a one person that generates 1 million per month. That can be fantastic, right? You can
yeah,
be 10 people that generate 10 million per year. You know, it's so there's different combinations. I'm building here an enduring company, right? I'm building a company that I wanted to, you know, offset for my failure. I want something that, you know, that endures, right?
yeah,
That passes the test of time. And so I have to balance, you know, decisions I made, like raising venture capital and durability, profitability, you know, endurance. How long will I take? How do I have to manage my costs, right, to get there? And so forcing creativity and saying, I see companies right now that are on the AI first with 600 employees, you know, making tens of millions in revenue. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, right? And so we are about 15 people right now. You know, I think of those 100 slots and I'm saying like, you know, I want to be very careful who I hire and when I hire them.
So what kind of choices are you making now that are different than when you made a drift that got to 800 people? And I think you guys were like, what, 70, $80 million in AR?
No, we're like right on the border of 100. So I usually like to say $100 million.
Let's just call it 100. Okay.
Let's call
So,
it 100. Yeah.
so now you're here and now
Hmm.
you're making different hiring and onboarding decisions based on this
Absolutely.
rubric that you have. So how are you thinking about it differently? Are you hiring and firing? Are you hiring contractors? Like how you, or you just letting engineering scaling first? Like how you fundraising even to build the right platform to make sure that you don't hire people ahead of time? Walk us through that.
I mean, I think there's so many benefits to keeping a small company and to thinking of a small company. Let me give an example. Someone near dear to my heart that in a way we're still working together, right? Is Keith, right? Keith was my first hire at Drift. The first
Sólido. Keith
Pesco
Pescoso.
Solid.
I love
The
that guy.
first person I hired at Drift was a recruiter, right? Look how times have changed, right? Because I come from HubSpot and HubSpot is 1,000 people when you have an IPO. I see the struggle of founders of they do not invest in hiring. They did not invest in recruiting. And so what they do is like they just immediately call everybody. It's like, who's the best firm that I can hire? When you hire a firm to hire an engineer, you start off, you know, offsetting like you start to let it go, right? Of offloading of your job, which is finding the right talent because it's just time consuming, and you end up paying, you know, 30,000 to $50,000 per hire on an IC level, and you can be spending $100,000 on an executive, right? But if you hire your own recruiter, you build that relationship that works for you, that knows you. And that's what allows us to solve in Drift, where we wanted to hire, you know, 800 people. So people thought I was crazy. Why would I hire a recruiter? But he turned out to be the best thing because when you need to ramp up, he's ready, right? And so, like, you know, the first 300 people at Drift, I interviewed them all myself.
Yeah.
Right? I made the offers. Him and I, we just were like, hand to hand combat. 50 to 60 to 70% of my time spent interviewing. Right? Just think about how much time I have gained by not having to do that anymore.
Yeah. But presumably the people you brought in were to do something, right? So like, what are you not doing now that you're building this big app with a lot of surface area, all
Yeah.
AI based? So where are you cutting? Where are you not building? Where are you not hiring? What are you not doing?
So, for example, my first hire at agency was a lawyer.
Interesting. So that's one seat. You got 99 to go. So that seat better be good.
It just she's definitely good. She's not good. She's amazing. She's great, right? And what we're doing is that you have to wear many hats.
Yeah.
So I brought Z and Michelle. two amazing women, right? That they worked with me before, and I said to them, "You're running this company. That's it." Most companies delay hiring someone like that, and the founders spend all this time doing all the legal, all the contracting, all the payment, all the financing, all the budgeting. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, I know, I know.
payroll
I do
systems.
I do it myself. I don't have a CEO. I don't have
You
a
don't have
person.
any money, right?
I don't yeah.
It's and so the thing about it is that um I'm focused on guarding my time, right?
Yeah,
I guard my time now more than I've ever done, and I still have a lot of work to do. And so I said really early it was an investment that they want to run a company, the company of the future. They have to leverage contractors in some of the financing and tax law and things like that where they're not expert at, right? But the rest, they have to be able to operate and leverage the best software out there, right? That it could be AI native or the one that allows us to scale that exists, right? For example,
yeah,
we'll use Rippling to manage all of our platform, right? All of our employees, contracts, benefits, expenses, and so forth, right? And I'm like, do buy whatever it takes that allows you to do the job in its entirety, but it's only going to be up to 100 people, right? And so we don't have to build systems, ahead of time and
yeah.
hire people to support a huge organization, right?
Right. So the other side of that is revenue, right? So how do you scale up revenue? How do you make sure that you're getting paid? How do you make sure that you're not adding people to scale revenue? What are the tricks and what can people learn
Go
from
to
you?
market, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. How do you scale? You go to market, but it's not just to go to market, right? It's like how do you price package your software? Who is going to go sell it? Is it inbound, outbound? What does your success organization look like? There is a lot in go to market that is more than just
Absolutely, right. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about pricing. I came here for you to be my therapist in pricing. You know,
Here's
I
the
didn't come
couch.
here.
Here's the
I
couch.
didn't come here to give advice. It's like I want you to give me advice for free. You know, I think what's happening right now is that the founder always has to sell the first million, the first 2 million, and more. Right. Uh, depends on how
100%.
quickly you get that revenue. Then you can start bringing in other people to help out. Right. It's
Yeah.
about learning as fast as possible. I do think though that when I left HubSpot to start Drift, it was an obsession of a race to the first million in revenue, right? We did crazy things at Drift, right? We did 0 to 1 in less than a year. We did 1 to 7 the following. We did
Yep.
like 26. We went 7 to 26 and
That's amazing.
40 something, and things were slowing down obviously after, right?
Yeah.
But those were crazy times that I don't want to replicate in a way. You know what I mean? When revenue was growing at those paces, right? I'm trying to build a company that will last forever, right? I want to obsess about my customers using the product and make that product irreplaceable. I'm not
Yeah.
here like, oh, I want to create a new category, or I want the product. I want people to use it and never quit it, right?
Yeah.
Build the systems to scale. I think Paul Graham says, do things that don't scale. It gives advice to founders to go do things by hand. But I think that now is one of the biggest mistakes you could do, right? To do things that don't scale in the age of AI means you bloat yourself with people to do a job that you do not know how to do. This time, I want to be more careful. Like, if I have too many customers and I don't know how to service them, it's because I have not cracked my software, my product to solve for the mission that I'm solving myself, right? And so I will only scale when agency can run itself when it comes to the customer and the go to market, right? And so I want to take my time to get there because I understand the fundamental mission that most people don't understand. My mission is not to go to revenue quickly, right? And break some record. I'm never going to break those records. Who's going to beat ChatGPT? Who is going to beat Cursor, right? It's like if that's what you want to do and if you're young and hungry and go for it.
Go for it. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not what I want, right? And so that's kind of like my go to market is completely different, right? I want to spend the time with the customers and understand their pain, understand their problem, understand help them with their confusion, trying to understand AI and how to adopt it, and better yet, figure out the pricing model.
So how are you thinking about the pricing model? What are your ideas? How do you compete and how do you price so that you can, align with your customer?
Yeah, I think that seat pricing is dead. I think people ask me all the time, and they say, how are you planning to charge it? It's a per seat. I think is a stupidity to charge per seat nowadays.
Yeah.
The world
Yeah.
changed. It's completely. This is what creates the biggest opportunity, because every company is going to change their pricing model. You
Yeah.
know this better than anybody else.
Yeah.
They are trembling if you charge per seat, because first of all, most of those seats go unutilized. Nobody's using them, and it's blocking the company, your customer. Why am I giving all this advice, right, to my competitors, right? But it's blocking the adoption of your product throughout a company, right?
Yep.
Because people are like, I don't know, you don't have a seat for that, and it's a read
Right.
only seat, write only seat, and blah blah blah. It is ridiculous. It's what we had to do because we built software in the past for humans to use.
I 100% agree with you.
I'm not building for that. The question is, how do I charge, right? And I think I've come here for that to talk to you. But one of the options is I can see my LLM bills, right, and they're higher than my revenue. It's so that doesn't that's just making it a hobby, right?
Yeah.
An expensive one. Where
Yeah.
how do you create a small fortune, right?
Yep.
You start with with the
With
huge
a big fortune.
fortune, with the big fortune, and then you start using the LLMs to build a company, right? And then you end up with the small fortune. And so that's what's happening right now. And so what I'm thinking is like, I don't think customers want to pay for every time their company uses the LLM. I just think that I don't think any CEO, anybody in finance says, sure thing, go use, here's my key, do
Yeah.
whatever you
Yeah.
want with the LM, and I have no control of what the bill looks like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so we have to switch to outcomes, right? And so what I want, what I'm thinking, right? My dream is to build a product that becomes part of your company.
Right.
You're hiring an agency to help you run your customer experience. You come to the agency and you say, you're part of my company. I have a dream. I want to build this product and I have to service thousands of customers with my idea. What I built, so many people want to use, and I need agency to be part of that journey, right?
Yeah.
And so if we are partners, we are business partners. And we
Right.
need to look at the cost together, and I need to make it efficient for you and for me. So why
Right.
shouldn't I take a part of that, right? If I'm going to allow you to grow your business and your revenue without having to hire large teams, right? Why couldn't I have a percentage of your revenue? And that's
I
what I
think that's
want,
beautiful. Yep.
right? It's like if you don't make money, I don't make money. And so I'm just, this is early days. Some people are like, oh, I don't know, and that doesn't make any sense, because some companies have done that in the past, but they do nothing. They just sit there taking a slice of somebody's revenue without really earning it, right?
Yep.
And I think what I'm thinking is completely different, right? I will be managing your customers. Agency will be doing the work of servicing them, of monitoring where they're stuck, helping them increase adoption, right? How they're going to do that without you needing to hire 1,000 people, right?
I think that's beautifully put. And it's going to be disruptive, but I think that that's the way this is going to work. And one of the things I just learned yesterday that in the early days, or even now, Palantir charges not on a cost of the software. They charge on the value they're about to deliver. So they agree
Yeah.
on what's the value. What am I here for? And if
Hmm.
you deliver that, how much do I unlock for you? And I'm going to take a cut of that. And I think
Yeah.
that is a business conversation everybody should be having. And the only reason we don't have it is because we have this 20-year-old, seat-based thing that, worked well for a while, but now we don't need humans to do the work.
Yeah. I think what happens is that there's some things we will go with the new and some things we bring back the old, right? It's good for us because we're old, right? And
You're
we
old, bro.
that's why, bro, we're like probably the same age, bro. It's like the thing is like we're just Latinos, right? We just look
That's
good.
right.
And
That's
it's like,
right. That's right.
except when you get your blood test now and you're like, the doctor says, okay, yep, you're hitting 50. This is normal. Don't worry about that red number there, the
Yeah, yeah.
H. Don't worry about the H. Don't worry about the L. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
what?
yeah.
What? I thought I look good. Everybody says I look young.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Maybe Brian Johnson is something. I was hating on him, but I'm like, hey, I might have to do something.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
uh,
Just move back to Florida, man. Just get the sun, get
yeah.
the chill.
This is the
You look
problem. We
young
just went
again.
off, just totally went off rails here on this podcast. But let's go back to, like, changing the world and pricing. I
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I think I think that the value based selling is something that a lot of people don't know, right? A lot of people, it's good to be old. I think I have to be biased. Do I want to be, you know, young when I started my career, when I was 22 and I was, going into the workplace. Do I want to go back there or do I want to stay here when I have, 30 years of experience? And
right.
so, so far I have no choice. So I'm going to stick with, like, I liked my experience. And I think that everybody wants a cursor like experience, which is like you pay $20 per month. Here you go. Rip it. Everybody pays it. There's no question. And some people are saving themselves from hiring 5 engineers in a team of 5, right? And they're like, they don't want to go to 10. And they say, with Cursor, I do that, but I pay $20 per month versus his full salary.
Yeah,
And other people, it's just a hobby and they code once a month. And so they pay the same $20. And then they're like, just get a few code completions and they move on, right?
right.
And then you have that other people, that other company has 5 person just using it day and night refactoring. Worse, it could be like a Devon or something like that, and it's just running up that bill for a limited amount. So that's the problem with fixed pricing, right? And why am I
Yeah.
here teaching these lessons? And this is your job.
No,
And
I
and,
love it, dude. Like, keep no
and
preach, preach. No,
yeah, exactly. And
just
so
keep
value
going.
based pricing says you come to the person, right? And when they say how much does it cost, you ask the person, how much is this worth to you?
I think that the argument is so solid because let's say Corsa for a minute. Like, if Corsa had a package that was truly a developer augmentation package where they sort of like beefed it up and like truly bring it to companies and say, look, instead of having a team of 100, you just need a team of 20 that is going to deliver all the same things. They could be killing even more. You know what I mean? And they would stop the Vibe revenue stuff. You see what I mean? Because people are moving from thing to thing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the problem is that people underestimate the power of pricing. Like, I learned this at Drift, right? That pricing is the most important lever in terms of effort, sort of, right?
Yeah.
It's like you make one subtle change to your CPQ, right? Or
Yeah.
to how you, or the number that you charge as the platform price, or the fees or the tips or the whatever, right? And that could, make or break your business, right?
100%. Yeah.
You can increase revenue 50%. You can double revenue. I saw that myself when we went from an SMB to an enterprise sales. And so I spent a lot of time learning that about pricing. The problem with value based pricing is that it requires a conversation.
Right.
It's so it really depends on what you're trying to build. And so I think I like what you're saying about Cursor, right? That Cursor cannot go full value based pricing because then you need people to go talk and discuss and learn.
Right.
And so it depends if you're B2B, if you're B2C, how do you establish that? But I like what you said. That was perfect, right? You were like, oh, no, guess what? We could do something where they can package it differently,
Right.
like developer in a box.
I feel like no, you're nailing it so hard right now. Like, this is exactly the kind of conversation everyone should be having with themselves and with their core team of what is the value that we're delivering to customer and how do we really capture that value? And
Yep.
it wasn't until now when AI is truly delivering the value, when agency is retaining customers, where agency is helping you run your book of business. Like, what's the value of that? The fact that you don't have to hire a bunch of account managers and a bunch of customer success, because what you needed to do, whereas There used to be that one CSM, at scale, top 5%, they will be handling what, $40 million of ARR, maybe, sorry, like $4 million of ARR. Now they can handle 10, maybe 20 even, because it's
Yeah,
that one person that is, the emails are written for them, the value conversations are written for them, and somebody's logging and tracking every single conversation. Everybody, agencies multi-threading for them. That's true value. And
absolutely.
those are not tokens. That's Elias, founder mode in code. What's the
Exactly.
value of that?
Yeah,
Running around your agency. And I think
exactly.
that's a conversation that nobody's having and should be had.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of it because of the inexperience. We need more diversity. I'll say that in the market, right? And in terms to experienced founders, right? That know the problem is that everybody's tired, right? Is that uh, luckily I have unlimited energy, right? But I think that people need to. It's a mixture of like I have people contacting me like I'm starting an AI company. I'm going to build an AI CRM and it's going to do all these things, right? And they're like, so how do they change the number in the opportunity drop down in the CRM? And I'm like, and I'm like, good luck, brother. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, but through that naivete, right, comes great innovation and new ideas, right? Because you challenge the status quo. And so it's fantastic. But here, right, people don't understand this is not about building a technology. This is about solving a business problem.
Yeah.
This is about understanding the outcome. And here I am telling too much about my strategy and my vision, right? It's like, but I guess this is what happens when you get a big mic and you get all excited thinking
When the
you're
equipment is new and
when
you're
the
in the
equipment is
podcasting
new,
business now.
you're like, I'm in the podcasting business. I don't give a shit about the podcasting business or anything. That's the beauty of having success, right?
That's
Having
right.
my biggest failure is that you can't expect to change the business of the future counting on humans using your software to do more work, being aided by an agent, right?
Yeah.
By a human. And so this is kind of what I think about every day, right? It's like we really have to solve for full outcomes, which are not here yet, right?
Right.
There's a lot that has to change in society to accept, whether it's interacting with the voice or an avatar or nothing. But the reality is like, look, I'm an extrovert. I love being with people. I just
Yeah.
want to be people. I know you're an introvert. You don't like to be with people, right? It's like, but the reality is that I'm becoming more of an introvert with age, right?
Yeah.
And I realize that I don't want to interact with people, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it is to troubleshoot something for 20 days in a row, right? It's like, why can't it just work? Or why can't it just fix it for me? Right? Why doesn't it just get the thing done that I want? And I think that people don't understand that, right? Sometimes. And that it's gonna take a lot of work, iterative work, to retrofit companies, right? And help build the new ones that work in this fashion, right?
It's beautifully put. And I think that we couldn't be luckier to have someone like you back in the arena, backing leading change. You could have just, taken your money and go home. You were telling me how you're shooting ducks here in England and like, learning all these things, but you are out there slinging it, slinging software like the rest of us. And I love that you're, putting the stick on the ground. It's going to be like, we're going to be 100-person company hitting 1 billion and we're going to get there hell or high water. I think it's an inspiring proposition. And I'm glad that we had a chance to, bring this to our audiences so that they can get inspired and they can get more of it. So what's the best way to get some agency going in their company, and our customers and our listeners?
Just come talk to us. I mean, I think just go to agency.inc. It's super simple. There is no way in the website to contact me. That is a real test. Don't join the wait list. There's nothing there. It's like just message me directly, right? Elias at agency.inc. And that's all that really matters. You come and talk to me and you say, I'm ready to be transformed.
That's awesome. That's all. That's true founder sales right there.
Absolutely.
That's true founder sales. All right, Elias, thank you so much again for being with us. That was amazing.